A 10-year-old boy stood alone in a courtroom facing felony charges. "This boy has no defense," the judge laughed, ready to condemn him. But when a detective spoke 3 words, the courtroom fell silent, and everyone realized the child they judged was innocent. Lucas Martinez was 10 years old when he stood in Los Angeles juvenile court wearing clothes that didn't fit, a button-up shirt donated by a church, pants held up with a belt cinched to the last hole, shoes that squeaked because they were half a size too small. He didn't look like someone who belonged in a courtroom. He looked like someone who belonged in a 5th-grade classroom, worrying about math tests and recess, not facing felony theft charges that could change his entire life. But there he stood, small and terrified. While 50 people watched from the gallery, lawyers, court officials, law students observing for credit, and his mother, Maria, in the back row, crying quietly into her hands. The charges: breaking into a luxury car parked in Beverly Hills and stealing electronics worth $15. Adrenaline, the evidence, security camera footage, showing a boy matching Lucas's description, fingerprints on the car door, and the fact that Lucas had been arrested 3 blocks away, running, carrying a backpack. "All rise," the bailiff announced. The Honorable Judge Harold Whitmore presiding. Judge Whitmore entered, a man in his late 50s, with silver hair, expensive robes, and the kind of face that suggested he'd never experienced real hardship. He took his seat, looked at the case file, then looked at Lucas with an expression somewhere between boredom and contempt. "People versus Lucas Martinez," he read. "Felony grand theft, criminal trespass, resisting arrest." He looked up. "Where's the defendant's attorney?" "Here, Your Honor." A young woman stood. Sarah Mitchell, public defender, wearing a suit that had seen better days, carrying a briefcase held together with duct tape. She couldn't have been more than 35, but she looked tired in a way that aged her. "Ms. Mitchell," Judge Whitmore said with a slight smirk, "another pro bono case for you, I see. How noble." Several people in the gallery chuckled. Sarah's face flushed, but she said nothing. "And the prosecution," the judge continued. "Marcus Hamilton, Your Honor." A man in a $3,000 suit stood. Perfect hair, perfect teeth, perfect confidence. "Representing the people of California. And I should note," Hamilton added smoothly, "that the victim in this case, the owner of the vehicle, is present in the courtroom." A man in the front row stood briefly. Designer clothes, expensive watch. The kind of person who never doubted his place in the world. He gave a curt nod. The judge proceeded. "Mr. Hamilton, the state may present its opening." Hamilton strode to the center of the courtroom, a performance already begun. "Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the court, this is a simple case of greed and opportunity. On the night of October 12th, the defendant, Lucas Martinez, deliberately targeted a high-value vehicle in a residential Beverly Hills neighborhood. He smashed the window, stole property valued at over $15,000, and attempted to flee. He was caught red-handed. We have video. We have fingerprints. The evidence is incontrovertible. This was a premeditated act, and the state will prove that Lucas Martinez, though young, knew exactly what he was doing, and must be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law." He returned to his seat with a satisfied glance at the jury box, where the court-appointed juvenile adjudicators, a panel of 3 community volunteers, sat. Sarah Mitchell stood. Her movements were slower, quieter. She approached Lucas, placing a gentle hand on his trembling shoulder before addressing the court. "Your Honor, members of the panel, my name is Sarah Mitchell, and I represent Lucas Martinez. What you just heard is a story that is neat, tidy, and almost entirely wrong. This is not a case about what Lucas did. It is a case about what was done to Lucas. The evidence will show a frightened child, a series of tragic coincidences, and a system all too eager to believe the worst. About a boy from the wrong side of the city. We ask you to listen, truly listen, to the full story before you decide." She sat down. The judge waved a hand. "Prosecution, call your first witness." Hamilton stood. "The state calls Detective Roger Vance, a bulky man in his 40s, with a weary demeanor and a thick mustache, took the stand. He was sworn in. Hamilton began. Detective Vance, you were the lead investigator on this case? I was. Walk us through the events of October 12th. Vance cleared his throat. At approximately 9:47 p.m., Beverly Hills PD received a burglary alarm from a vehicle on North Camden Drive. The owner, Mr. Alistair Thorne, reported his car had been broken into. Responding officers found the passenger window smashed. Missing were a high-end laptop, a professional camera, and several lenses. Total value, as stated, around $15,000. Security footage from a neighboring home showed a juvenile male, approximately 4'6", slim build, wearing a dark hoodie and jeans, approaching the vehicle, using a rock to break the window, and removing items, placing them in a backpack. At 10:05 p.m., officers on patrol observed a male juvenile, matching that description, running 3 blocks east, carrying a full backpack. He was apprehended after a brief pursuit. That juvenile was the defendant, Lucas Martinez, and the backpack contained the stolen electronics and the fingerprints. A clear match to the defendant's left index and middle fingers were lifted from the exterior door handle of the victim's vehicle. Hamilton turned to the panel. So the defendant is seen on video. His prints are on the car. He's caught running with the stolen goods. Is that correct? Yes, sir. No further questions. Sarah stood for cross-examination. She approached the stand slowly. Detective Vance, you said the suspect was seen on security footage. Could you describe the quality of that footage? Vance shifted. It was from a residential system. Standard definition. Night vision. Could you see the suspect's face clearly? Not clearly, no. It was grainy, but the physical description matched. Height, weight, build, clothing, all of which could describe thousands of boys in Los Angeles, correct? I suppose. You apprehended Lucas 3 blocks away. Was he out of breath? Scared? He was breathing heavily. He was resistant. Did he say anything when you arrested him? Vance hesitated. He kept saying, I didn't take anything. I was just holding it. A murmur in the gallery. Sarah pressed. A claim you evidently didn't believe. Did you ask him why he was running? He said he was scared. He heard sirens and ran. A natural reaction for a child in a neighborhood where he might feel he doesn't belong. Wouldn't you say? Hamilton objected. Speculation. Sustained. Sarah changed tack. The fingerprints. You found them on the exterior door handle? Yes. Not on the rock? Not on the interior? Not on the stolen items themselves? Correct. On the exterior handle. Is it possible to touch the handle of a car without breaking into it? Objection calls for speculation. I'll allow it. Detective, you can answer, said the judge. Yes, it's possible. Thank you. One more thing, Detective. When you booked Lucas, you performed a standard search of his person. What did you find in his pockets? Vance consulted his notes. 83 cents and change, a school ID card, a crumpled permission slip for a field trip, and a key. A key to what? He said it was the key to his apartment. Did you find any tools commonly used in burglaries? Screwdrivers, glass punches, anything? No. So the theory is he used a rock, then just touched the door handle? Hamilton stood. Objection, argumentative. Sustained. Move on, Miss Mitchell. No further questions. The judge called for a short recess. In the hallway, Lucas looked up at Sarah with huge dark eyes. They don't believe me, he whispered. Sarah knelt. I believe you, Lucas. We're not done yet. Back in court, Hamilton called his star witness, Alistair Thorne, the victim. Thorne took the stand with an air of indignation. He confirmed the value of his items and his outrage. It's a violation, he stated coldly, looking directly at Lucas. That child took what wasn't his. He belongs in juvie. Sarah's cross was brief. Mr. Thorne, you stated the items were in your car. Is that your usual practice? To leave $15,000 worth of equipment in an unattended vehicle overnight? Thorne flushed. I was attending a dinner party. It was a secure neighborhood. Was it secure, Mr. Thorne? Your car was burglarized. Objection! Sustained. No further questions. The prosecution rested. The case seemed airtight. The judge looked at Sarah. Ms. Mitchell, does the defense have any witnesses to call, or are you ready to rest? Sarah stood. We call one witness, Your Honor, Detective Roger Vance, back to the stand. A wave of confusion. Recalling a prosecution witness was unusual. Vance retook the stand, puzzled. Sarah didn't approach the jury box. She went instead to her duct-tape briefcase and pulled out a single sheet of paper. Detective Vance, after the arrest, you were responsible for the evidence log, correct? Yes. And part of your duty is to ensure a complete chain of custody for all items. Yes. Including the backpack and its contents. Yes. Sarah took a deep breath. Detective, when you logged the contents of the backpack, you listed the laptop, the camera, the lenses. Did you also, as per procedure, note the condition and any distinguishing features of these items? Standard procedure, yes. And for the laptop, a silver MacBook Pro, what did you note? Vance frowned, scanning his memory. Serial number. Some minor scratches on the casing. Nothing else? Not that I recall. Sarah held up the paper. This is a supplemental report from the Beverly Hills PD evidence technician, dated 2 days after the arrest. It includes detailed, high-resolution photographs of the stolen items. Did you review this report? I must have. It's in the file. Let me direct your attention to the photograph of the laptop, Detective, specifically to the sticker on the lid. Did you note the sticker in your original log? Vance was uneasy. I don't believe I did. It didn't seem relevant. Could you describe the sticker for the court? He hesitated. It looks like a cartoon spaceship. A rocket with some writing. Sarah walked to the evidence table and picked up the MacBook. She showed it to the detective, then to the panel. The sticker was bright, cheerful, out of place on the sleek metal. A cartoon rocket with the words, "Blast off to learning," beneath it. Detective, does this look like a sticker that would belong to a luxury-obsessed car thief? Or does it look like a sticker that might belong to a child? Hamilton was on his feet. Objection. Relevance. This is theatrics. It goes to state of mind and identity, Your Honor, Sarah countered. Overruled. Answer the question, Detective. Vance sighed. It looks like a kid's sticker. Thank you. Now the backpack itself. It was logged as a dark blue JanSport backpack, correct? Yes. With a distinctive feature, was there not? Something attached to the zipper? Vance's face went pale. He remembered. A small plush toy. A Lego minifigure keychain. Batman. Sarah produced the backpack from evidence. Dangling from the main zipper was a worn fabric Batman figure. This Batman, Detective, when you arrested Lucas, did you find any other toys? Any other items of childhood on him or in his home? No, just the keychain. And this keychain, is it the kind of thing a 10-year-old might carry for comfort? For luck, I suppose. Sarah turned to face the panel, her voice low but clear. A boy steals $15,000 in gear, but he doesn't remove the childish sticker from the laptop or the toy from his backpack. He leaves his own school ID in his pocket. He uses a rock he found on the spot. Does that sound like a proficient criminal? Or does it sound like a child who was handed a bag and told to run? Hamilton objected loudly. Your Honor, this is pure conjecture. I have one more question for thee. Detective, Sarah said, her eyes locked on Vance. Detective Vance, when you interrogated Lucas, you followed protocol for a juvenile. You asked him where he got the backpack, didn't you? Vance nodded slowly. Yes. And what did he say? He said, Vance's voice was almost a whisper. He said a big kid gave it to him, on the street, offered him $20 to carry it to the end of the block. The courtroom stirred. And did you follow up on that lead? Did you look for this big kid? Vance looked down. The evidence was overwhelming. His prints were on the car. The story seemed convenient. Sarah let the silence hang. So a 10-year-old offered money to carry a bag. Thing children do for older kids all the time. Gets caught up in a crime. And his story isn't even investigated because he's poor, he's Latino, and his prints were on a car he might have just touched earlier in the day. Objection! Withdrawn. No further questions. The courtroom was buzzing. The judge banged his gavel. Order, Miss Mitchell, is that all? No, Your Honor. The defense calls Lucas Martinez to the stand. Another wave of murmurs. It was a risk. Hamilton would tear into him, but Lucas, guided by Sarah's calm nod, climbed into the witness chair, his feet dangling. He was sworn in. Sarah's questions were soft. Lucas, where do you live? With my mom, in East Hollywood. Do you know where Beverly Hills is? It's where the rich people live. We drive through it sometimes on the bus. Were you in Beverly Hills on the night of October 12th? Lucas nodded, his voice tiny. Yes, what were you doing there? My mom. She works cleaning offices. Sometimes she gets a job there. She was cleaning a building. I went with her after school because our neighbor couldn't watch me. She said to wait in the lobby, but it was boring. I went outside to walk around, just to look at the big houses. Did you touch a car? A shiny black car? Lucas's eyes welled up. I didn't break it. I promise, I just thought it was cool. Like a spaceship. I touched the handle, just to see what it felt like. Then I got scared someone would see me, and I ran across the street. What happened next? A bigger kid, a teenager, he came up to me. He had a backpack. He looked scared, too. He said, "Hey, little man, you want to make $20? I said, for what? He said, just take this bag to the corner and wait for me. I gotta go do something. He gave me the bag. It was heavy. Then he just ran off. A minute later, I heard sirens. I got scared. I started running. Then the police grabbed me. Why didn't you tell the police about the bigger kid? I did. I told them over and over. They said I was lying. Sarah looked at the panel. Lucas, do you know what a felony is? Lucas shook his head, tears finally spilling over. No. Sarah let that hang in the air for a moment before turning to Hamilton. Your witness. Hamilton approached, his smile predatory. A very moving story, Lucas, very convenient. So this mysterious big kid just handed you a bag full of expensive electronics and vanished? And you just happened to have touched the very car that was robbed? And you just happened to be in the exact neighborhood where the crime occurred? That's quite a series of coincidences, isn't it? Lucas shrank back. It's the truth. The truth is, you saw an opportunity and took it. The truth is you're a thief, Sarah objected. Badgering the witness. Sustained. Hamilton leaned closer. Lucas, if you're so innocent, why were your fingerprints the only ones on that car handle? If this older kid was there, why didn't he touch it? Lucas was sobbing now. I don't know. I just touched it. The scene was devastating. The panel looked troubled. The judge looked impatient. Any more questions, Mr. Hamilton? No, Your Honor, the state rests. It seemed over. Lucas's testimony, while heart-wrenching, seemed like a desperate fairy tale against the physical evidence. The judge turned to Sarah. Closing arguments, Ms. Mitchell? Sarah stood. She had no more evidence, no more witnesses. She had only words. She was about to begin when the courtroom doors burst open. A man rushed in, out of breath, his tie askew. It was an older detective, not Vance. He scanned the room urgently, his eyes landing on the bailiff. Then on Sarah. He held up a hand, begging for a moment. The judge scowled. What is the meaning of this interruption? Bailiff, the new detective spoke, his voice cutting through the chaos. Just 3 words that made the entire room freeze. The 3 words were, I have him. The courtroom fell into a stunned silence. Judge Whitmore's gavel hovered midair. Marcus Hamilton's confident smirk vanished. Sarah Mitchell froze, her closing argument forgotten. Lucas Martinez stopped crying, looking up at the commotion with wide, wet eyes. The older detective, his face flushed from running, held up a hand in apology and deference. Your Honor, my deepest apologies for the interruption. I am Detective Frank Rivera, LAPD Hollywood Division. I have in custody outside a juvenile, one Derek Cole, age 16. He has just confessed to the Beverly Hills car burglary for which this child is currently on trial. He has also implicated an adult fence who was operating the scheme. I have officers securing that individual now. The silence shattered into a cacophony of gasps, exclamations, and frantic whispers. The judge hammered his gavel. Order! I will have order in this court. Detective Rivera, approach the bench. Counsel, approach. Sarah, her heart hammering against her ribs, moved forward on legs that felt like water. Hamilton joined them, his face ashen. Detective Rivera stepped up, speaking in a low, urgent tone meant only for the judge and the attorneys. Your Honor, about an hour ago, we picked up Derek Cole for a separate incident. A.E. attempted bike theft near the Grove. He had priors for petty theft. When he was processed, he had a brand new, high-end gaming watch on him, far beyond his means. During questioning, he got nervous. He thought he was being pinned for the Beverly Hills job. Apparently, word on the street is that a kid got nabbed for it. He started talking to cut a deal. He gave a full confession. Details only the perpetrator would know. The specific rock he used, which window he smashed, the model of the camera, even the fact that the laptop had a kid sticker on it, something not released to the public. He described seeing a younger Latino kid wandering nearby, looking lost. After he did the job, he panicked when he heard a distant siren. He saw the kid, Lucas, and paid him $20 to carry the backpack a few blocks, intending to circle back and retrieve it. He never got the chance because Lucas was picked up. He's been laying low since. Sarah felt a surge of vindication so powerful it was dizzying. The fingerprints, she managed to whisper. Rivera nodded. Cole's prints are on file from his priors. We ran them against the partials found on the interior door frame, and the rock partials the initial investigation didn't prioritize because they had a clear match on the exterior handle. They're a match for Cole. Lucas's prints were only on the exterior handle. Exactly as he said. Judge Whitmore's face had gone through a remarkable transformation. From pompous irritation to stunned confusion, and now to a dawning, horrified understanding. He looked over at Lucas, small and broken in the witness stand, then at Maria Martinez, who had lifted her tear-streaked face, not yet daring to hope. He looked at Marcus Hamilton, who was frantically scanning Rivera's hastily printed report. This is highly irregular, the judge murmured, but the bluster was gone from his voice. Your Honor, Sarah said, her voice trembling with controlled fury, this is not irregular. This is justice nearly failing. The prosecution had a convenient narrative and a vulnerable defendant. They chose not to investigate the one lead that could have exonerated a 10-year-old boy because it didn't fit their story. My client has spent 3 weeks in juvenile detention, terrified over a crime he did not commit. Hamilton found his voice. Your Honor, we acted on the evidence presented. The fingerprint, the video, the apprehension. It was a solid case. This revelation, if true, is something the defense could have uncovered. With due diligence. Due diligence? Sarah interrupted, her voice rising. You mean the due diligence your office should have performed? The detective on the stand admitted they didn't follow up on Lucas's statement. You had a child telling you exactly what happened, and you called it a convenient story. The only thing convenient was your rush to judgment. Enough. Judge Whitmore's voice was heavy. He looked old suddenly, the lines on his face deepening. He removed his glasses and rubbed his eyes. The weight of the near catastrophe was settling on him. He looked at Detective Vance, who was staring at the floor, his shoulders slumped in shame. He looked at Alistair Thorne, the victim, who appeared more annoyed than relieved, checking his expensive watch as if this were a personal inconvenience. Finally, the judge looked at Lucas. Bailiff, he said, his tone quiet but firm. Please escort the defendant. Please escort Lucas down from the witness stand. He may sit with his attorney. As Lucas, confused but obedient, shuffled to sit next to Sarah, clutching her arm, the judge addressed the courtroom. Ladies and gentlemen of the panel, observers, what we have just witnessed is a profound failure of this system. This court was moments away from adjudicating a child as delinquent for a crime he did not commit. New conclusive evidence has been presented that exonerates Lucas Martinez and identifies the true perpetrator, who is now in custody. Therefore, I am dismissing all charges against Lucas Martinez with prejudice. This case is over. A soft cry came from the back row. Maria Martinez broke into fresh, heaving sobs, this time of relief. Sarah put a protective arm around Lucas, pulling him close. But the judge wasn't finished. He fixed his gaze on Hamilton and pointedly on Detective Vance. Mr. Hamilton, the court expects a full review of your office's procedures in juvenile cases. Detective Vance, your report and conduct will be subject to an internal affairs inquiry. A child's liberty, a child's future is not a trivial matter to be swept aside in the pursuit of a quick clearance. He then turned to Sarah. Ms. Mitchell, you have this court's apology and its gratitude for your tenacity. Your client is free to go. Normally, that would have been the end. The gavel would fall, people would leave. But Sarah Mitchell did not move. She stood up slowly, gently disentangling herself from Lucas's grasp. Your Honor, she said, her voice clear and resonant in the now silent room. With respect, it cannot end here. An apology is not enough. Free to go is not enough. Lucas is free to go back to what? To trauma? To a record that, while dismissed, will linger in shadows. To the memory of being called a thief in a room full of strangers. To the weeks he lost in detention, away from his mother, from his school, from his childhood. She walked to the center of the courtroom, facing the panel, the gallery, the judge. This court sees the end of the story. Innocence proven, case dismissed. But for Lucas, this is not an ending. It is a beginning of a different kind of sentence. The sentence of being the kid who was almost sent away. The sentence of nightmares in a room that isn't a cell. The sentence of explaining to his classmates where he was. The system did this to him. It saw a poor Latino boy in the wrong neighborhood and constructed a guilty narrative around him. It ignored his voice. It dismissed his truth as convenient. The system owes him more than an apology. It owes him restoration. She turned to face Judge Whitmore directly. Therefore, Your Honor, before you adjourn, I'm filing a motion on behalf of Lucas Martinez, a motion for reparative relief. I move that the court order the following. First, the immediate and complete sealing and expungement of all records related to this arrest and proceeding, as if it never happened. Second, given the demonstrated negligence, I move that the city provide for a fund to cover Lucas's future, therapy and counseling needs, to be administered by a court-appointed guardian. And third, I move that the Los Angeles County Department of Children and Family Services conduct a review of the detention facility where Lucas was held to ensure no other child is subjected to similar trauma, while awaiting a hearing that actually listens to them. The audacity of the motion hung in the air. Public defenders didn't make such demands. They gratefully accepted dismissals and moved on to their next overwhelmed case. Hamilton was sputtering. Your Honor, this is outrageous. This is a civil matter, not for criminal court. This is a publicity stunt. Judge Whitmore held up a hand, silencing him. He studied Sarah for a long moment. He saw the duct tape on her briefcase. He saw the fire in her eyes that her tired face couldn't mask. He looked at Lucas, who was watching his attorney with something like awe. He saw Maria, who had stepped out of the gallery and was now standing at the bar, her hands pressed to her mouth, hope and fear warring in her eyes. The judge's gaze swept the room, the affluent victim, the confident prosecutor, the ashamed detective, the observing law students who had just received a masterclass in systemic failure. He knew this moment would be talked about. He could be the judge who simply let it end, or he could be the judge who acknowledged the depth of the wound. He sighed a long, weary exhalation. Ms. Mitchell's points are painfully well taken. This court is not in the habit of granting such motions, but this case is not habitual. It's a profound aberration. The motion for expungement is granted immediately. The clerk will see to it before this day is done. Regarding the other 2 points, I am remanding this matter to the presiding judge of juvenile court for a special hearing on reparative measures. I will attach my personal recommendation that the requests be granted in full. Furthermore, he paused, choosing his words with uncharacteristic care. Furthermore, this court strongly suggests that the district attorney's office consider charges against Derek Cole not only for the burglary, but for the endangerment of a minor, and that the LAPD review its juvenile interrogation. Protocols to ensure a child's claims of innocence are investigated with the same vigor as claims of guilt. Court is adjourned. He brought the gavel down. The sound was final, but the echo felt different. It wasn't the sound of an ending, but of a rupture, a crack in the facade of a system that often moved too fast to see the individuals it crushed. As the room erupted into chaotic conversation, Sarah knelt before Lucas. "It's over, Lucas. Really over. You're going home." Lucas threw his arms around her neck, holding on tightly. Maria rushed over, enveloping both of them in a tearful embrace. Across the room, Detective Rivera gave Sarah a small, respectful nod. Marcus Hamilton was hastily shoving files into his briefcase, avoiding everyone's eyes. Alistair Thorne was already on his phone, likely to his lawyer, talking about suing the city for his recovered property. The law students were buzzing, their perspectives on justice irrevocably altered. Sarah led Lucas and Maria out of the courtroom, away from the stares and the whispers. In the bright, harsh light of the courthouse hallway, Lucas squinted up at her. "Ms. Mitchell, what does expunge mean?" Sarah smiled, a real, tired, genuine smile. "It means, Lucas, that this never happened. As far as the world is concerned, you were never here. It's just a bad dream you get to forget." Maria clutched Sarah's hand. "How can we ever thank you?" "Get him some ice cream," Sarah said, her voice thick. "And let him be a kid again. That's all the thanks I need." As they walked away, Sarah felt a familiar exhaustion, but beneath it a fragile, stubborn ember of hope. She had fought the machine today, and for once the machine had blinked. It was a small victory in a vast, unequal war, but it was a victory. For Lucas, it was everything. He was just a boy again, his future back in his own small hands. The squeak of his 2 small shoes echoing down the hall, not as a sound of poverty, but of a child simply walking home. The following weeks were a quiet revolution for Lucas. The court-ordered expungement was swift, erasing the digital ghost of his arrest. The special hearing granted a fund for therapy, and a gentle counselor named Dr. Amina began helping Lucas process the fear and the vivid nightmares of locked doors. He returned to school, where a sensitive principal explained his absence as a family matter by shielding him from whispers. The Batman keychain, retrieved from evidence, sat on his bedside table, a symbol not of a crime, but of a truth that finally prevailed. Sarah Mitchell visited them often, no longer as a public defender, but as a friend. She brought Lucas new shoes that fit perfectly and didn't squeak. The Martinez apartment, once filled with dread, slowly filled with laughter again. The system had broken him, but the repair, though fragile, had begun. For Sarah, the case became a catalyst. She left the public defender's office and joined a non-profit dedicated to juvenile justice reform, using Lucas's story, anonymously, to advocate for changes in protocol, pushing for mandatory video recording of all juvenile interrogations and independent advocates for every child in custody. The ripple of that day in Judge Whitmore's court extended beyond one boy. Detective Vance was reassigned to desk duty pending review. Marcus Hamilton faced no official sanction, but lost his next election for a higher judicial seat. The true perpetrator, Derek Cole, faced charges for the burglary and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. His story, a cautionary tale of how older offenders exploit the young. And in a quiet moment, Lucas told his mum he wanted to be a lawyer when he grew up, like Ms. Mitchell, but one who listens first. The story of Lucas Martinez is a stark reminder that justice requires vigilance, empathy, and the courage to question a convenient narrative. It shows that innocence is not always enough without a voice fierce enough to defend it. Thank you for watching this story of hope and resilience. If this narrative touched your heart, please support our channel, Kindness True Stories, by liking this video, sharing it with others who need to see the power of compassion, and subscribing for more inspiring real-life tales. Your engagement helps us spread more kindness, one story at a time.